You're listening to The Paul Higgins Show, where ambitious tech consultants come to unlock their potential. After 18 years as a global leader, I launched several businesses, culminating in a successful exit. I'm sharing what I learned, plus what's working now from mentoring tech consultants. You will hear leaders within our industry to help you build a business you love that allows you to do what you want. If you are looking for immediate cash flow wins to fuel your growth, go to our free ebook at paulhigginsmentoring.com/roadmap. Imagine you get a lead from your AE. You talk to the potential client and you quickly realize there's a big missing step. Hello, this is Paul Higgins and welcome to the Paul Higgins Show, episode 543. In this podcast, I talk to Jessie Mead from Cloud Journey Consulting Group about that big step, which is getting the process right first. If you'd love to see Jessie and I on video, just go to my YouTube channel, Paul Higgins Mentoring. So Jessie Mead has been on the forefront since the early years of the Salesforce platform. She previously serving years as a marketing assistant in the financial world. Jessie designed, implemented a groundbreaking M&A platform that led her to being selected in the M&A Advisory 40 Under 40. And she has over 17 certifications and has helped countless businesses find success with Salesforce and associated products. She works with her life partner, Kyle, and talks about how to make that work. So now I hand you over to Jessie from cloudjourneygroup.com. Great to have you here, Jessie.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, really looking forward to this conversation. And but I always love to kick off with who your ideal clients are and what problems you love to solve for them.
Oh, ideal clients are probably small to mid-sized business, 1,000, preferably under 500. We love the mom and pop shops because I think we strive for kind of the relationship behind the entire purpose. So we love when we can build that relationships, which gets harder when you have many more user base in your company. Yeah.
Right. And when you say, so that's employee size, 500
employee
to
size,
1,000?
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And any particular verticals or industries that you focus on?
Not really. Since we're in the Salesforce space, it kind of goes across the board. We find ourselves working a lot with oil and gas. We're in Texas, some manufacturing, but really the mom and pop that are really just trying to grow their business.
Right. And do you do many where someone's, handing it over to the next generation? Is that sometimes, or what are sometimes the trigger points for bringing you in?
Yeah, we have had that. A lot of times it's, someone's been working in a spreadsheet for the last 20 years and no one knows what's going on because it's in one person's head. So it can be a lot of family within the company. It can be a handover generation to generation, but most of the time it's just someone had a great idea 50 years ago and now it's time to get that into something more scalable.
Yeah, great. And I said in the introduction that you do a lot of finance force. What other clouds do you do across the Salesforce ecosystem?
Yeah, Financial Force certainly now covers PSA, so project management, and ERP, so like your QuickBooks. But we're also getting into Rootstock, which is a manufacturing software. Kyle, my partner, has a background of Amazon, so loves the warehouse and can speak the warehouse. So that fits really well for us. And then we work a lot with, the third parties that kind of plug into Salesforce and the cloud-based platforms.
And how friendly is Rootstock and Salesforce API?
Rootstock connects into Salesforce. It's basically just a third-party plugin, so it's on the Salesforce platform, but still has its challenges for sure.
Yeah, okay. And does that sort of also get you into the e-commerce space with more of the manufacturing?
A little bit. We try to stay out of that one. I know Commerce Cloud with Salesforce is kind of one of those untouchables. We do a lot of Shopify integrations, but not necessarily any platform specific to that.
Great. Well, I know that when we first met, you sort of talked about the process first and then the technology, right? And obviously you just mentioned that, Salesforce, but other solutions. So you're not Salesforce where, if you're out there and you're just trying to sell a round peg to a square hole, please stop that because, it's
right.
It doesn't work, right? We've all been there and hopefully we're maturing from that. But I know it's easy sometimes when you get a Salesforce deal, handed to you by an AE and you're like, okay, well, I'll just close this one and and move on. It's the end result that counts. But yeah, tell us a little bit about, you said your relationship, but also, process first before the tool. So talk a little bit about how you would do that with a client.
Yeah, so we have started offering health checks, and it's more a way for us to get in and kind of gain trust from a client. We're not necessarily selling anything up front when we do work with, the Salesforce reps and the Certinia reps to an extent, but we want to come in as early as possible because we want to pull the lucid chart out and really dig into the full business process, which is fun with the smaller companies because they probably haven't ever really had that conversation. So we're kind of helping them figure out nuts to bolts, inbound lead to proposal to invoicing to closing out the books, how does all this work together? And by that point, once we have a lucid chart and we're kind of like speaking the same language with the company at that point, then we can kind of talk about, where Salesforce might fit into the picture, because it's definitely not a one size fits all, right? Pieces are going to fit where they fit. They're not going to fit where they don't fit. Let's figure this out together.
Yeah. And when you're doing that lucid chart, like how does it practically work? Are you getting them to send process? Are you interviewing them? Just take us a little bit about how you start to get the information from them to build the, first draft of the lucid chart.
Yeah, we just get on the phone and start talking, really kind of like we're doing now. We're kind of like, let's not think about technology. Let's just, are you marketing? How are you finding business? Let's just start from the top. And so as we're talking, throwing things on a lucid chart, and we're just kind of walking through this process together. So once we get to the end of the conversation, we can flip it around and maybe we do a reverse demo if it's a specific topic, but we'll show them kind of what we came up with and kind of make sure we're just saying the same words, even though they might be different words. And that seems to work really well.
Yeah. And do you tend to, after you've implemented Salesforce, do you tend to stay on to help them with the process, or is it just the process to first set up Salesforce?
We actually do stay on quite a bit. We have a really high retention rate. A lot of it comes from my background of just doing the independent consulting. So a lot of these customers have stuck with us. So we're good about, the ad hoc MSP, just hourly. If you need help, call us. But with the implementations where it's a full business, full process that we're building out for them, usually once we get kind of towards the end of that, we've built enough trust and we've kind of said, these are our MVP to an extent. We want to get you live, but also think about this as like, hate to say it, but it's kind of like ripping the Band-Aid off, especially for the smaller groups, because it's going to be painful, but we're going to get done. We're going to be there with you. And then let's talk phase 2. And we really have clients that kind of drop off after implementation. We stick with them for quite a while.
Right. And as far as when you do that initial process ping, and using lucid chart, et cetera, is that like giving them a design that they could go and get, anyone to use it? Like, do you sell that as a separate standalone package, or is it built in the overall implementation? I hope that question's a bit lumpy, but I hope you got the gist
Yeah,
of
that
what I
makes
was saying.
sense. We have sold that business process diagram, the solution design entirely, I think once. That's it. Because
Yeah.
otherwise we're really talking them through it, and then we'll give them the solution. And at that point, we've gained enough trust and we kind of know where we want to go, that they just stay with us and they say, let's do it. Yeah, we've only ever had one person buy that separately, which we are right now handling that implementation. So we don't really deal with us handing it off and then walking away, if ever. I don't think I've seen that happen yet.
Great. The way that you build these long-term customer relationships, there are particular things that you do that you think a lot of other partners miss the opportunity in doing.
Yeah, that's a loaded question, I think. Because there's so many consulting firms and there's so many people that can learn Salesforce. It's an easy tool to learn, really, when it comes down to it. I think for us, we like to hire industry experts because we want to speak the same language as a business owner, especially these smaller companies where it's mom and pop, or it's somebody who's been a CFO for the last 30 years of the company. They're not just going to hand it over to anyone. So the more that we can really speak their language, like a warehouse guy is going to speak warehouse. I can't speak warehouse, but you don't want a technology person coming in and just speaking technical terms, asking generic questions, going down the checklist of what's your lead, what's your opportunity. It seems to work a lot better when you can gain that trust, speak the same language before really focusing on the technology. And I think that works well for us.
Yeah, and who's the how does it work from a, is there a key sponsor? Is there someone that they have that manages the project internally? Like, just tell us a little bit about how you get it from a change management point of view to be successful from an implementation.
It's a good question. I think because we've been doing a lot more of kind of the Certinia ERP, we've really been in front of the CFO, the CEO, kind of the executive C-suite sponsors. And although they're not necessarily the ones that are the SMEs, right, kind of hands in the system, learning it all, a lot of times they are because it is financials. And again, speaking more to the Certinia side, I think once, you gain trust of a CFO or somebody of that level, which for us, it's a smaller company. So once you have that trust, it's pretty easy just to keep going. We do have some that have project managers internally, but I think again, as long as you can kind of speak the language, throw in the phase 2 as you're getting towards the end of the build, it just progresses into a longer term relationship.
Yeah, fantastic. And how did you come across Rootstock? Why did you decide for Kyle to partner with them?
Certinia has a supply chain product that they still invest in to an extent, but their bread and butter is PSA, project management, and the ERP. That is their focus. That is what they want to sell. So Rootstock really isn't a competitor at this point. They're very much manufacturing. They have the ERP, but it's very specific to manufacturing, which isn't something you can just stand up. It's a very different business model when it comes to that industry. Just knowing that, we kind of got our foot in the door a little bit from Certinia, actually, to kind of go in that direction, which some of the other Certinia partners have, but again, specific to manufacturing. And since Kyle's the warehouse guy, of course, we jumped at that to kind of introduce ourselves and get our foot in the door.
Yeah, fantastic. And is there any other tools that you use for the implementation of the projects, using a project management software or anything to make sure that the project's delivered successfully?
Yeah, Cloud Journey Group use Salesforce. We also use Certinia for our own project management, our own ERP. But when it comes down to task management for our team, we use Asana for the projects internally and with our developers. We can grant access to our customers to that board as well, which we find very useful so everyone can kind of stay on top of it. It's, again, not a one size fit all. So some companies want access to the nitty gritty, like someone who might have their own internal admin wants to learn it. So we're all about hands on. Let's teach this to you while we go. Well, others are just like, get it done. It's fine. Whatever they prefer, whatever their taste is.
Yeah, great. And sorry, what was the other one that you mentioned? You said Asana, but you mentioned something else and I didn't quite grab it. Started with T.
No, just Asana.
Okay.
We use Certinia internally, and then Asana is our project board that we just use for the project team.
Yeah, fantastic. And Lucid Chart, I know there's many options. Some people use Miro, some people use other. Why did you decide to invest in
Chart is my
Lucid Chart?
jam, for sure.
Yeah.
I love Lucid Chart.
And are you an early adopter? Like, how long have you been using it for?
I'm sure I don't use it correctly because I kind of just do whatever I want with it, but it's been a few years for me. And we kind of have team members one at a time come in and watch us do these discoveries. So everyone's starting to dabble and love it. I'm trying to spread that poison. It's amazing.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I know my old business partner, when I ran the tech consulting business, or we ran it together, he was a Lucid Chart expert. So it's a skill that I always envy. I would start one, and by the time I'd started, he'd have it all fully up and going and working. And I'm assuming you're like that.
I love
Yeah,
it.
it's a great skill to have. We spoke about Kyle, and Kyle, you said he's a warehouse guy, and he's also, brought the relationship with Rootstock. But yeah, I want to ask you, partner in life and also partner in the business. Yeah, any tips on how you make that work well?
Oh, it's tough. That's for sure. It really just takes communication, I guess, like any relationship, right? I think the harder part is you've got a business relationship and you've got a personal relationship, and making sure there's a defined line between the two. Networking events, doing business events, they're all a blast. And I feel like having the same kind of culture mindset is also a lot of fun for the team because we all kind of know each other to that extent. But I think really just, when to cut off the business talk, or when to cut off like it's not a personal attack. It's not a personal conversation. We're in business now, just making sure you can navigate the two lines.
And are you transparent with the customers that that's the case at the
Usually,
upfront, or do they find it out as they go?
usually, I think we try not to be obvious, but I think it's pretty obvious. We don't come out and say, we're partners because we're not technically married, even though it's been 10 years, but it always comes up.
Great. And what's how do you separate the lines of responsibility? Like, is it based on your skills? Is it based on, agreement? Like, how do you decide what Carl does versus what you do?
It's actually really easy because I'm kind of the techie. We always call me OCD, but I'm more the techie, hands-on, lucid chart, building, getting my hands into the systems, where he's more of like the rev ops, the sales, networking, having all those conversations with partners. He's hands-on when it comes to the supply chain, different projects there, but that's really it. So it's pretty easy to keep those split.
Yeah, fantastic. And so when do you come into the conversation? So he's running the sales process. When do you first come into the engagement with the client?
Currently, it's been every almost first conversation, maybe second, more like when we get into this scoping, which I will say has been kind of a pain point because, we started Cloud Journey 4 years ago, and it was kind of a decision that we made because after working so many independent gigs, like we all do, there's so much work out there. The
Yes.
clients kind of have stuck with me this whole time. So it got to a point where it was just so much work. But finding that split between it being the Jessie show to it being now the Cloud Journey show, we've kind of been going through that phase. We still are. But I think even now, I'm still involved with every scoping, every conversation, starting to come off that a little bit more, just because we got to scale, we got to get more people involved, but we're in that growing phase right now.
Yeah. And how many team members have you got?
We have 8 full-time now,
Right.
handful of contractors on top of that, and our developer team, who's amazing, but there's 8 full-time right now.
Great. And where are they located?
All over. One of our girls lives in her RV. I think she's in Wisconsin right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And what are some of the ways that you keep the team together, even though that they're remotely dispersed?
We try to have monthly happy hours or some event, which we're not great at keeping up with monthly because we're such a small team working on so many different things, but we try. We're also very active in our Slack channel. So, we have our random board that has all the memes and stuff in it. We also do daily working sessions. So if anyone is lonely or just wants to work on something or has questions, whatever it might be, people pop in and out of that every day. And then we also make it a point for all of us to go to Dreamforce, which is quite a feat. Luckily, we're small enough to still be able to do that. I don't know how long we'll be able to do that for. I think last year we had 8 or 10 of us, and that was kind of the first time everyone actually met each other, and it was awesome.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, well, sadly, I've got members all around the world, and
I
I
know.
haven't met any of them in person
Yeah.
as yet. So I'm looking forward to that. We're planning to go to Dreamforce in 25, so I look forward to catching up with you in
Yeah,
person then. So
perfect.
yeah, and I'll definitely get some tips off you uh, as a veteran. So the last thing I suppose is, 4 years, you've got 8 team, done exceptionally well. What do you think needs to change, or is there anything that needs to change to get you to the next level? Like, or is it just a continual improvement of what you're doing, or is there any major step change that you need to make?
It's the golden question. I think we're at the point where we need to start scaling, but we're also still so small. It's kind of, one person could do an entire implementation by themselves. So we're getting into some bigger projects that involve, multi-cloud, which is perfectly fine, but everyone's on such a different level in their Salesforce or Certinia journey, especially Certinia, that we also have to remember to slow down and, train whoever on the team might need trained in a specific product. And I think that's where you start really, especially for the bigger firms, that's where you start really getting into the different silos and kind of we need Salesforce to connect to the ERP. And if you have one person working on one side and one on the other side, you kind of lose that that connection between the two.
Yes.
I think we're trying to get our bearing as far as growing into a bigger team working on projects, growing into more project management structure,
Yes.
because we're kind of, we're relationship driven, we're small.
Yes.
We're kind of just, if the client needs something today, let's do it. And we can't really keep doing that and expect to grow.
Well said. So what we're going to do is just take a short break, thank our sponsors, and then what we'll do is come back with the rapid fire. Imagine stepping into a sales call and your potential client already knows and understands your expertise and is eager to engage with you. It sounds like a dream scenario, but with the right tool, it's entirely achievable. Introducing Tella.tv, Tella, your ultimate solution for personalized pre-sales videos. Tella TV empowers you to craft impactful video messages that resonate with your potential clients before you connect with them. One of the standout features of Tella is its seamless editing capabilities and automatic captioning, saving you time and ensuring your message is clear and accessible to all viewers. Ready to revolutionize your pre-sales process? Tella.tv today by visiting our resource page at paulhigginsmentoring.com/resources and clicking on Tella. Elevate your sales game with Tella, because your success starts before the call even begins. We're ready for the rapid fire, or more importantly, are you ready for the rapid fire?
Oh, I'm nervous.
Jessie. No, don't be nervous. You've just continue to do what you're doing, but just shorter answers would be fantastic.
Okay.
So we wrap it out. The first one is, what are some of the daily habits you do to help grow Cloud Journey Group?
I wake up and I put a list together as to what my priorities are for the day. I try to follow that as best I can. At the end of the day, I revisit that and try to figure out what the next day entails. And that could be for just me. That could be for the entire group.
Fantastic. Great. And where do you go to learn more about how to grow the business?
Honestly, LinkedIn. I'm just trying to learn from others from any industry. We can't always network with just Salesforce people. We have to learn from more than that. So I like LinkedIn a lot.
Right. And if I could grant you one wish, what would that be?
World peace.
Yeah,
No,
well, it's very, very topical at the moment.
Yes. No, I think just making sure, I would love for everyone in our company to feel enabled and feel empowered to kind of keep going, keep learning.
Fantastic. And like you said, 4 years ago, you started Cloud Journey Group. What do you know now that you wish you had known back then?
I wish I would have made myself more available from the get-go, just for others to learn.
Available to who?
To our team, just for others to learn, for me to be a bit more available sooner. That way we won't be going through these growing pains currently, and we would have done that already, but didn't know that.
No, that's we all learn. Look, it's been great having you on. Thanks a lot for sharing how your business has grown over the 4 years, and we wish you all the success for the next 4. So you can find out more about Jessie at cloudjourneygroup.com. Once again, thanks for coming on today.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul.
That was a great interview with Jessie. I really love how she does talk about process first and how she used Lucid Chart to map out that process. I love how she said that you really need to get the industry expert to understand it. So if you're talking to the warehousing person, you got to have that knowledge and experience, which I completely agree. And also how she's integrated some other platforms like Rootstock. And when I asked her what the name of that platform was, it was Certinia. And that's what was formerly Financial Force with a change of the name. Reach out to Jessie on LinkedIn. As she said, that's where she gets her information. Reach out, let her know what you've learned from this, and also ask her any questions on LinkedIn. The link will be in the show notes. Also share it with your peers. And, there's great value here, so I'm sure they'll love it. Share it with them. And also don't forget to watch Jessie and I on the YouTube channel, which is Paul Higgins Mentoring. And finally, I'll see you next time here on the Paul Higgins Show. Time for action. Let me know what you implemented from the show. I promise to respond. Plus, get the Tech Consultants Roadmap at paulhigginsmentoring.com/roadmap.